its new rankings, and yeah, we're in the top 60, which is great news. So everything we're going to be discussing today is really going to be underpinned by quality, which is really important if you're looking at making such a big investment, not just with your money, but with your time. Now, the business school is also part of what's called the triple accreditation. So there's only 1% of business schools worldwide who achieve triple accreditation. We're in the top 100 universities in the world. The business school is consistently ranked in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And Monash University is part of what's called the Group of Eight. So for those of you who might be familiar with Ivy League schools in the US, Russell Group universities in the UK, or the U15 in Canada, the GO8 is the equivalent to that in Australia. So it's a very prestigious group of research-based universities. This just gives you some of our rankings. This is our most up-to-date rankings. I don't want to focus too much on the ranking side of things. You know, Monash is very well placed globally, but it's actually what we can provide students once they complete and the return on investment students are going to get once they study at Monash, which I really want to focus on in today's presentation. Now, the great thing is that we have two types of programs at Monash Business School. We have programs for students who know exactly what they want to do. So often I'll speak to a student who's really interested in studying accounting because they want to become an accountant, or they're interested in actuary studies, for example. But we then have a cohort of students who know that business is of interest to them, but they don't know if HR, which is very popular in Pakistan, supply chain management, project management, marketing, communications, MBA is of interest to them. So the good news is we have programs for all types of students, and we're going to go through those briefly now. So at the undergraduate level, we have 3 programs, which is what we would consider to be comprehensive style programs. So they are your Bachelor of Business, your Bachelor of Commerce, and your Bachelor of Business Administration. And all of those programs have different entry requirements. So the English requirements stay the same for all undergrad and postgrad programs, but the maths requirements and the grades required for all of those programs do differ slightly. Now, the great thing with our comprehensive style program is it allows students at the undergraduate to either take one major or a double major. So often we have students who are interested in marketing and economics, say, or actually you could take banking and finance and accounting as majors. Now, most universities in Australia at the undergraduate level, you will spend 1 year doing core units. And in the second and third year, you will then take elective units. And those elective units will determine what major you study at the end. Now, the second part of your screen right now is what's called the specialist programs. So instead of graduating with a Bachelor of Business or a Bachelor of Commerce, you actually graduate with a Bachelor of Accounting or a Bachelor of Actuarial Sciences. Now, these programs are for students who know exactly what they want to study. They have a very clear idea about what they want to do once they graduate. And it's a more specialist program. So we don't provide you as many elective units, which for some students is a benefit, whereas for other students, they're looking for a bit more choice and flexibility. And the one thing Monash can provide, given the size of our, not just university, 65, 70,000 students, but our business school, is a lot of choice and flexibility. Now, I did want to touch on something which I don't think is too popular in Pakistan, but certainly in Europe, certainly in Australia as well. Double degrees are a really, really important part of what we do at Monash. So it's a great way for you to distinguish yourself from other students you might be competing for in a job, but it's also a great opportunity for any student who has 2 areas of interest. So a double degree is exactly that. It's 2 independent qualifications. So a few of the examples are on your screen now. You might study a Bachelor of Business, which is a degree in its own right, and do a major in marketing. And then you can also do a Bachelor of Banking and Finance. For those of you who are more interested in the theoretical side, the analytical side, and more mathematics orientated, the Bachelor of Commerce would be a great option. And you can package that with finance or economics, whatever works for you. Now, the other good thing with a double degree is it's not double the amount of time. So for those of you who might be listening at the moment, you're trying to decide between the US and Canada. Most degrees in the US and Canada are 4 years in duration. The great thing in Australia is a standard undergraduate degree in Australia is 3 years. So you're saving 1 additional year of tuition fees and living expenses. But if you wanted to do a double degree and get 2 qualifications, it only takes 1 additional year. So you can actually do a double degree in the same amount of time as it takes to do a single degree in the US and Canada and get twice the amount of qualification, if you like. Now, these are internal double degrees within the business faculty. We also have double degrees outside of the business faculty. So to give you an example, I was speaking to a student, I think yesterday or the day before. He was really interested in music. He was a very, very talented guitar player, but he was also interested in the commercial side of the music industry. So for him, a Bachelor of Music with a Bachelor of Commerce would be a great option. The arts faculty alone, which is at the top of your screen there, they have 30 or 40 different options you can choose from. So it's not going to be a problem finding subject areas which you are interested in at Monash. I guess the problem is at times we have too much choice available to students. But again, quite a unique selling point when you look at other universities, not just in Australia, but globally. Now, I'm going to go straight to the postgraduate program. So thank you for your patience if you're only interested in postgrad. We have a number of different postgraduate programs at the business school. We divide them into 2 categories. The first being pre-experience. So I think the term in Pakistan would be fresher students who have just graduated from their undergraduate program and want to immediately pursue a postgraduate qualification. There are loads of options. All of those options are on your screen there. The graduate certificate, graduate diploma, that's probably not a great option for a lot of students because we don't package on that program. But things like the Master of Business, now that has 8 different electives which students can choose from. We have marketing, strategic communications, project management, supply chain. I think accounting's in there, international business, loads of different options. And then you've got, I suppose, the slightly more specialist areas like the Master of Advanced Finance. I think we rank in the top 30 or 40 in the world for that program. Banking and finance is also another great program for students. We have a lot of links with companies, not just in Melbourne, not just in Australia, but globally as well. So we do have students taking internships at the moment in New York with Goldman Sachs, in the Nikkei in Japan, the FTSE in London, you name it. So those programs have great links with companies, but they also have really good outcomes for students. So I'm hoping that if you are listening to this presentation and the postgraduate program is of interest to you, you should be able to find something on your screen which you are interested in studying. Now, remember, these are pre-experience programs, so you can come onto any of those programs with experience, but if you have significant work experience, I would suggest looking at the types of programs which are on your screen now. So for example, some of these programs will require you, for example, Master of Accounting to have an accounting background. So a Bachelor of Accounting or a Bachelor of Business majoring in accounting. But other programs like the MBA and the GEMBA, the GEMBA, that will require at least 2 to 3 years of management experience, not just work experience, but management experience. I do know I've been lucky enough to visit Pakistan on a number of occasions. I know that MBA is a very popular option, but it's very, very competitive to get into that program. We only have 25 places globally for students. But if you can't get into the MBA program, things like the Master of Global Business is a fantastic option for the majority of students. The Master of Global Business actually has a relationship with UC Berkeley. So in the US, one of the Ivy League schools there, students can either take a semester abroad or a full year with UC Berkeley on global business. Project Leadership, previously known as Project Management, is another great program. You can actually specialize in your second year in the engineering faculty, the law faculty, the business faculty, the arts faculty, you name it. There's a lot of choice when it comes to elective units in the second year. So typically, an undergraduate program is 24 units. A postgraduate program, which we're discussing now, is 16 units. The vast majority of programs which we are discussing at the postgraduate level will require you to study 8 units, which are core units in the first year. And then in the second year, you can either pick a specialization or, for example, in project leadership or global business, take 8 elective units in any area of the business school. Again, very, very few universities will provide that level of flexibility and choice. Moving on, I'm not going to go through the updates at this moment. We've got a couple more minutes left. So why is Monash Business School different? Why is it unique? Well, it has a global presence. So we have over 79 different international partners. We have a number of different study tours available to students, and we have campuses all over the world. So for example, if you wanted to escape the Australian winter and go to Italy, Prato, where we have a campus there, you can take some of your units in the summer in Europe, which is a great opportunity. We have campuses in Sri Lanka, we have campuses in Malaysia, in China, and of course, Monash University is the largest university in Australia. So we have 4 or 5 different campuses as well. Now, what I always suggest to students when they arrive and even before they arrive is take part in as much as you can whilst you study here. As part of almost all programs we offer at the business school, an internship can be offered to students in the second year of study or the third year if you're doing an undergraduate program. And you could also take an elective unit on a study tour, for example. So as I said, we work with almost 100 different partner universities now all across the world. You can elect to take one of your units or a couple of your units overseas. It's a great way for you to grow your network, build your soft skills, but also will really help when it comes to getting a job once you complete your course. So what does this all mean? Listen, my job is not to guarantee you a job once you graduate, but one of the things I like to tell students is if you come to Monash, you take part in all of the programs and the facilities we have on offer, and you do network, the likelihood is you are going to be very successful. The starting salary in Australia is very high. The undergraduate employment rates are on your screen now. So 86% of students are employed within 6 months of graduating. That increases to 90% at the postgraduate level. So when you consider that the vast majority of professional type employment in Australia, certainly in Sydney and Melbourne, you'll be earning between $60,000 and $70,000. You are beginning to see a return on investment once you graduate. Again, I really wanted to emphasize this point before we finished this afternoon. The business school works with over 500 different companies which are based all across the world, companies who are asking for Monash Business School students. Certainly, if you are looking at shopping at the moment, finding out what university is best for you, I always suggest to students find out what links that university has with employers, find out what the employment rate is, and if they provide internships. Certainly, as we enter a recession, a major global recession, which we haven't seen since 2008, you want to make sure that once you graduate, you have something to go into. And I'm certainly confident sitting here today telling you that Monash is in a very, very good place to provide you, work experience, but also the opportunity to get that return on investment once you graduate. This is just a quick slide on graduate salaries. So Australia consistently ranks as one of the highest globally. This is, if you were to compare, banking and finance, advanced finance, actuarial sciences. So for example, actuarial sciences has a starting salary of $125,000, much, much higher than 63. You'll find that in many cases, you'll be earning a lot more than 63,000 following course completion. I wanted to leave it there. I was given 10 minutes. I think I've gone slightly over. Khalid, I hope you guys have found that kind of useful. Sorry it was so brief. But are there any questions from your end or the students?
Okay. Thank you, James, sharing for the very informative information regarding Monash University Business School. Please let me know about the regarding entry requirement for master program, like a global business and MBA program.
Okay, so the global business program, let's get it back up on the screen now. This is a little bit more complicated. If a student has very high grades, so for example, 70% and above, and hopefully no backlogs, a student could actually gain admission into that program directly with no work experience. If a student hasn't got very high grades, maybe they've got the minimum pass mark, we might be able to accept them, but they would need at least 2 years of work experience, not management experience, just work experience.
Okay.
Now, the MBA program, Khalid, is much different, okay? The MBA program requires at least 3 years of experience, but that typically needs to be at a managerial level. So you are managing staff. Usually students are between 27 and 35 on that program, but we only have 50 places per year. 25 are domestic, so we can't count those. 25 are international. Of the 25 students who are international, 13 are boys, 12 are girls, or 12 are boys, 13 are girls. And we recruit from Europe, we recruit from Africa, we recruit from Central America, North America, the whole of the subcontinent, so India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, parts of Russia. So it's very, very competitive to get into the MBA program. The good news is if you do get a place, it certainly almost guarantees you a job at the end, and a very, very good job. But we're not wanting to work with thousands and thousands of students for our MBA program. It is quite exclusive, not least of which the other piece of advice I give students, Khalid, is the idea that an MBA program in the West, so in the UK, in America, in Canada, in Australia, is only really done for students who have significant work experience. So to give you an example, I've got 12 years of work experience. I'm 32. Only now am I considering potentially doing an MBA. I meet a lot of students who are 18, 19, particularly from India, not so much in Pakistan, but who are wanting to do an MBA at 18 with no work experience. The equivalent of doing an MBA at 18 is a bit like buying a car when you can't drive and you don't have a driving license. It's not going to be a great qualification if you're wanting to get a job. If you're wanting to return to Pakistan, that's fine. But if your goal is to stay in Australia and get a job, an MBA at 20 or 21 with no work experience is not going to help you.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about the undergraduate programs for direct bachelor program.
Okay, so for direct bachelor programs, we're looking at an IELTS, so an IELTS of 6.5, no band score lower than 6. That's quite easy to remember because that's also our entry requirement for postgrad as well. So the IELTS requirements aren't too high. So for example, if a student's done A-levels, we would need between 9 and 12 points, depending on what program the student wants to go into. Now, that's not too high when you consider an A is 5, an A star is 6, an A is 5, a B is 4, a C is 3, 2, 1, you know how it goes. Now, we don't accept for direct entry the local curriculum in Pakistan, the HSC, which I'm very familiar with. But that doesn't mean we can't help your students. So again, coming back to choice and flexibility, if students don't get into the direct program, we can provide them a diploma, which I know you guys are really familiar with, the diploma structure, which is the equivalent to the first year of university. And once they graduate from the diploma, they would then come over to us in the second and third year. So we should be able to say yes to the vast majority of your students, or at least have a pathway for them, which is the most important thing.
Okay. So is there any scholarship regarding bachelor master programs?
Yep, we do have a number of scholarships available. The first thing I would say about scholarships, and this is the most important thing, it's on a first come, first serve basis. So students will need to apply early, but they also need to obtain an unconditional offer letter. So that means we need to see your final transcripts from school or university. We also need to see a copy of your IELTS, a statement of purpose, and then a completed application. Now, we have a number of different leadership scholarships, so that's anywhere between 100% and 50%, which we provide students, but these are really for students who are top of their class, maybe top of the school, or top in their region, you know, Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi. You know, we're only giving those away to the best students. We then have scholarships for $10,000. Again, we can't provide all students these, so apply early. And then we have what's called study grants. Now, let me quickly explain the difference between a study grant and a scholarship. A scholarship is for the duration of your studies. So if you're doing an undergrad, it's for 3 years, or if you're doing a double degree, it's for 4 years. And if you're doing a postgrad, it's for 2. If you're getting a study grant, it acts a bit like a discount. So for example, if I bought this phone for $1,000 on Monday and it was $800 on Tuesday, that's a bit like a study grant. I haven't done anything to earn the study grant, it's just a discount. So providing students apply early, the good news is Pakistan is what we consider to be a diversification market. We are able to provide quite a few students with a scholarship or a study grant.
Okay, so now the student will be able to get the scholarship as soon as possible. First comes first serve basis, right?
That's
if
correct.
Someone is applying for this admission scholarship.
That's
okay,
correct.
James, quick question. You know the current situation of COVID-19. Okay, and the current next intake of February 1. So, is there any reopen? They're going to border open for the face-to-face classes for the international students.
Okay, so the first thing the first thing I should let everybody know on this call is to really to say I don't speak on behalf of the government. I'm only telling you what I think might happen. Now, a couple of things. I understand the politics in Pakistan. It's very, very complicated and difficult. It's actually quite similar in Australia as well. You have the national government, and then you have the state government, like Sindh and so on, like you have in Pakistan. We need to get approval from the national government and the state government before allowing any students in. Now, the good news is that it's very unlikely students are going to be coming into Australia unless there is agreement at the national level. They are doing some pilots at the moment with some students to Adelaide from Singapore, I believe. But for what it's worth, I don't know whether we're going to be able to accept students. And when I say we, I mean all universities, not Monash, in February at this stage. Unless there's a vaccine which comes out, I think it's going to be very difficult. And then if we were to allow certain nationalities in, I think it will be based on a risk profile level. Now, I don't think Pakistan is actually doing that badly at the moment, but when we look at countries like India, like Brazil, like Spain at the moment, and the UK, where things are totally exploding, I just don't think it's going to be possible to let everybody in. There's so much which can change, of course. And the great news is, Khaled, we've got a lot of support available to students anyway, if they need to do their first semester online. But what I can tell you is Monash will follow the advice of the government. We have to, but so will all universities. So the advice I'm sharing with you now is advice which all universities will be giving you, because nobody is acting autonomously here. We're not in a position to do that. We're under the direction of the government.
Exactly. So thank you very much for James sharing very good information regarding Monash faculty, business faculty. So hopefully the student definitely will recruit the coming intake February and July, and hopefully definitely if border comes, definitely students travel to the February intake, or as we received the email from the Monash University today, some blended learning institute type of education, like online courses starting from Monash University, or blended learning. Some students traveling to Melbourne, so they will start through online classes, blending learning type. So
Exactly. I mean, one of the things I suggest to students, Khaled, is to make sure that they don't delay their studies too long. We know the importance of a study gap in Pakistan. And of course, COVID-19's caused a lot of problems. But if students aren't doing a great deal at the moment, the most important thing they could do is actually invest in their education. And I think that's quite important. Don't just sit around waiting for the world to change. You know, go out there, go and make your own change. And I think that will help. But inshallah, we will be open in February, March. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.